welcome you to being here. We're doing a series of kind of AI salon talks about how people are using AI in their creative process. Uh, Creative AI is what I call it. But I wanted to invite you here, Brian, so you could talk about what you're doing and what kind of processes you have been coming up with. And you're one of the most creative people that I've ever met. And so I am excited to hear about how you've been using AI and what you've been working on. So introduce yourself if you would, and then show us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for having me, Val. I really appreciate that. I mean, and you've known me in an interesting time in my life where I've been able to get creative and we've gotten to work on some stuff over the years. It's
Yeah.
been really fun. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, like you said, I'm Brian Skalak. I'm based out of the Twin Cities here in Minnesota. I call myself mostly like a VJ and light installation creator. Notice how when I was typing this, I did not use the capital A word because I've been trying to avoid that just because it's like, what even does that mean? And generally, like, kind of the work that I'm doing is mostly like, all right, am I presenting live visuals for music? So yeah, for those out there that don't know the term VJ or video jockey, it's just like, all right, so the stuff you see on screen or the atmosphere that's created at a concert, that's some of the stuff that I really like to do to create kind of that one-to-one, 1+1=3 type reaction. And then as far as like light installation stuff goes, anything from projection to abstract Lumia works, that's always been really interesting to me as well. And so that's kind of where I come from, but that's not really what today's chat is about. Um, oh, here I gotta play my new weird
Ooh.
selfies. I feel like I have some weird like dysmorphia where I'm just like, I love using my selfies to like just completely destroy myself through AI. We might not
There might be some
dissect that too much.
psychological things in
Yeah.
there, but we won't
Um,
judge.
but it's always kind of fun. So I'm like, well, so what does that look like? What is kind of some of my more like IRL physical work look like? So I kind of created a little collage here. So anything from, like I said, projections for visuals. Been recently working on an installation where I'm projection mapping onto multiple disco balls, which has been really fun.
Nice.
Again, like real world reflections of light. Actually, a couple of these are at the old MTN space. So
I recognize
shout out.
the studio.
Yeah. So getting really good opportunities to like to do fun and funky stuff like that. So you're like, well, if that's the stuff that I like to do, then like why the heck go into AI, which is kind of as of right now, like I'm at home, it's late at night, it's just me and the computer, right? There's kind of not this physical aspect of it, like again,
Yeah.
quite yet, or depending on like how that's presented. Um, and so thinking back to that, it's like instantly it comes down to like the aesthetics, right? Like what are things that you look at or vibe with or want to like forge two very bizarre things together? It's like that's what AI is, I guess, like purely creative output for me at least is, and kind of what that comes down to. So here's just another spattering, and we'll kind of get into this of just like stuff I found in my downloads folder where you're creating these like glitch outputs. The psychedelic surrealism of AI is something that's really intriguing to me. I mean, like what's going inside this computer brain that's hallucinating constantly?
Yeah.
That's curious. And so just kind of a smattering of some aesthetics here too. And it's always just like, all right, what am I into at this time? What was something that somebody shared online that I was like, all right, sick, that's a cool jumping off point.
Yeah.
And even too on a lot of these platforms, they're now curating like these explore pages, Midjourney, especially where it's just like
Yeah.
you it's like doom scrolling, but like for your eyeballs and not as
Yeah.
doomy, I guess, which I really
It's like
enjoy.
joy
So
scribing.
yeah, and those are so cool. I guess for those of you who aren't on Midjourney, that's kind of like it's a couple years old now. It's definitely like the premier image
Mhm.
generator from a while back, and they've done a really good job continuing to like stay involved. They've got some good animation capabilities, but yeah, with this explore page, you can find other people's aesthetics and
It's
like
so
use them
cool.
as prompts and then remix it with your own stuff. And so like that's again where you get this full spread of like if you're not an A-word artist or don't think so, you can still make stuff that makes you feel something and hopefully make somebody else feel something. Um, and then something else too that Val and I were talking about before we kind of started the recording was like, I'd probably have to look back. If you think about probably 10 years ago, There's some of the Google, what do they call it, Deep Dream type,
Yep. Yep.
the OG neural networks that looked like, cats and spirals and brains. And it was like the trippiest stuff. Like it was like it
It
went
was
from zero to like,
primo.
what is going on
Yep.
in here? And so yeah, I kind of put that as probably my like high water mark, is like, all right, like this is fun and
Well, and that was
funky.
probably like the thing that sucked you in the most to this type of
Yeah.
creation, right? Because it's like
So
it was
well,
so
yeah.
weird.
And so many people miss that. Like we're like, we actually want to go. I think we probably talked about this before. Like we actually want to go back to like the
Yes.
gritty aesthetics. And
Yes.
I'll touch on that in a second here. But it's like, all right, so there's kind of this last decade of I guess me personally trying to like explore a lot of different outlets, and whether that came off as like something that felt like filtery or just like
Yeah.
or like a style transfer, I guess is kind of another term, especially from further back in the day, of like take my photos and make them look like this, or
Yep.
stylize them to a certain artist look. And that's kind of pieces of, I guess, where we've built out and kind of like where we've gotten to today. And so I think about it as kind of like this time capsule, right? Where I can also go into my downloads folder or some of these programs I've been working with and go back 2, 3, 4, 5 years and be like, oh, like that's something I was really into, and here's how that's changed, or here's how that resolution's changed, especially like, the last 3 years of image generation, and now the next like forever of video has just
Yeah.
been this like rat race, and everyone trying to outdo each other. And so you can kind of like look back and not only see like where has the technology gone, but like where has my personal like interests gone.
Yeah.
So I think that's really fun. Clearly you can do that with like kind of a lot of any digital art, but I think that for AI, especially, being able to just like have these moments where you were kind of digging into something is it's pretty fun to touch back on. So here's kind of like me pulling from, I don't know, the last like 3 years, just again something I found in my downloads. And now that like, images are getting like, oh, we can do images really simply all the time. It's like,
Yeah.
but making like a really nicely aesthetic image, or like curating
Yeah.
or building your own model based on some images is a lot of fun. So um, the other piece that I think about too is like, how are we like connecting these disparate ideas? So like I was thinking about a little bit too, and again, we're not here to like do any demos or really dive too deep, but basically with a lot of, or any of these platforms, it's like, I want to take this and add it to this, or
Yep.
5 things, whether that's images or video. Right now has been pretty fun. Even this background video right here is kind of like early on, where like you could do out painting. Again, this
Yeah.
is 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
But super exciting, where it's like, what is beyond the frame? What's outside
Yeah.
of what I'm being presented? And that's where it starts to get weird and interesting. And then I kind of come down to like, right, like, and I don't mean it like the bad way. Clearly AI is for you to do like whatever joy you come out of it, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to make this. I want to make, oops, I want to make the weird. And I was on
Yes.
I was on Midjourney, and I was just like, someone made a fake video of a coiled iPhone cable, and you're just like,
Why?
great. But yeah. And again, there's like so much kind of like the talk now, especially that things are getting better. It's like, put your brand, someone's going to be wearing your clothing and sunglasses and all this other stuff. And you're like, again, great. And there's like a lot of functional purposes, but that's not what
Right.
we're here to
That's
talk
not what we're
about
talking about. We're
today.
talking about the creative, the
Yeah.
weird creative side,
And
which
this
I
and this
love
is
that video. Yeah.
yeah, and this is pretty cool actually. And I've been posting a little bit about it, but a lot of this stuff is like unseen. And so you can actually take it kind of reminds me of a mix of like data moshing and early style transfer. I was
Yes.
thinking, which is like, all right, I'm going to take a still and then I'm going to apply the motion of a video to it. So
Yeah.
that's and so much of this stuff too, for folks who are like, I don't know where to start, or like I need to catch up. So the thing is, like, honestly, like you're getting leapfrogged all the time. So it's kind of like, all right, kind of pick what you're interested in and go from there. Because I was doing this like by frame, 5, 6, 7 years ago,
Yep.
over like days of rendering, and now I can do
Right.
this on
It's
on
like
runway in
boom.
10 seconds, and you're like, all right, well, it's cool because it reminds me of how cool it was. So then you have this
So
secondary video
do
that's
you
basically pulling
miss
through the yeah.
the old processes, or are you one that's like actually happy that it can be so fast, and like, or do you actually miss like the having to work with it and like wait and like I've
Yeah,
talked to
no,
people that are on both sides of this discussion.
no, it's a great question. I think again, especially like, yeah, I'm thinking back to like 2020, early pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, you've got some time, you can kind of render out these more long form videos or some of this style transfer stuff that I was doing then. And it was like super niche, and like it took like 3 programs to do it and a lot of time. And I guess there's like these like, not that you want to like gatekeep, but there's like moats to like, all right, if you want to get to a thing, like it
Yeah.
just takes a lot of work. Uh I'm up in the air on it. Like the entry point is, you know, again, super easy right now because everyone's fighting for mind share basically of
Yeah.
like, all right, we need users. Here's free stuff. Here's the
Yeah.
dangle.
Yeah.
Uh and so I think that's good. And then what I'm interested to of like what are the like multi-step processes too, where you're just like again making an image is sweet, but now it's like, all right, what's like step
What's
two,
the
three, and
next thing?
four that I want
Yeah.
to use that for? I want to, you know, world build or make it into some VJ files. Like again, so you have to kind of like go slightly beyond the surface, I
Yep.
guess. And that's kind of where, you know, you can separate a little bit, but the internet's a weird place. And like, again, people can get really excited about like one thing, and then the thing that takes 90 hours to do, like nobody can care
They hate
about. So
it and
like,
like, wah.
who knows? So I think a lot of this stuff is it's tough because like you can get to a really good point very quickly. And so
Yeah.
people equate that with like low effort or not
Right.
good, i.e. just
Or
like,
no
yeah,
inspiration from human.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that conversation has more or less disappeared in the last 3 years, right? I mean, like we're,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, 2021, 22, we're hosting these like conversations and like, you know, the ethics and you're stealing and all this stuff. And like, whether it's just for pure like the amount of time it's taken, or people have just been like beaten down enough, or the general like concept that it's not
What are
like
you gonna do
copying
about
and
it?
pasting. It's kind
Yeah.
of, yeah, it's a couple of factors where there's definitely not the big pushback or the big no AI Facebook profiles
Yeah.
anymore type stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's
Definitely
still a big
lessening.
subsect of people, but I think
Yeah.
they're also finding out that unfortunately, like AI in some way, shape, or form is getting integrated into the tools that they're using. So then they can't,
Everything.
like, did they not use AI or was it subtly there or what version of it? Like, you know, it's just like what counts and what
It's
doesn't count.
there.
So,
Yeah.
um, this is kind of old, but I wanted to pull up a kind of an old like reel of some stuff that's just like again to show like old experimental and like I said, just like break things, right? So how do you make things like not work how they're supposed to?
Yeah.
I don't know if audio will come through or not. I think I selected it on the Chrome tab, but it's like a minute, so we'll just play through real quick.
Okay.
I know my baby. I know my baby. Down the road I go. I have no place to go. I have no place to go. Fishing after me. Fishing after me. Fishing after me.
So like everything, it needs to be updated, but
I
there's like,
totally
yeah, there's just a
forgot
lot
about
of range of stuff in there.
yeah, I totally forgot about the series that you did with the old photos. And like I loved that. That was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of some stuff I want to talk a little bit more about today. So I kind of have like these two parts as I was trying to like organize my thoughts for this. So phase one is like, right, yeah, new old media. So how are
Yeah.
we? I'm really intrigued by stuff like found footage, film, slides, and so I'll show some and share some experiments around that. And then phase two, oh, there's my first typo. Interest, curiosities, and workflows.
I
I'm
mean,
just
I
thinking
thought
about
that was
like
just you being like, that's the cool way
interests.
to
Yeah,
spell it
yeah.
now.
Vowels out.
They're
They're
out.
done for. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, in that last video too, just like pure experimentation, and that's where it's tough because like it used to be the Wild West of like I'd love to share some experiments, and now like it's just like what's the final product too. So there's a
Right.
little bit of give and take too of like what are the pieces? When do you call it like quits as far as like gotcha, like this is in a good place, like or
Yeah.
we've
When's it
explored and
done?
now it's time to move on. But that's
So
kind
I'm
of
pretty excited.
that's kind of the ongoing piece of it. So this project might be like 4 or 5 years old, but I think it's still like really interesting. And I think there's like some other ways to use it. I don't know if I can mute it because I kind of talk over it, but basically I have these like framed 18 by 20 photos that my mom actually took in like a photography class in the 70s. And I think they're just at the house and I'm like, sick, I want these. And then
Yeah.
a couple years later, using that outpainting technique, I'm able to take the original photo and then expand beyond the borders of it, right? So create something that actually seems seamless, even from again
Yeah.
4 years ago. This is like really well done. Maybe I'll listen through it if we're kind of talking about it. And then kind of the other layers are okay, and then you can take this new outpainted part, put it on top of it, and then use mobile AR through your phone to actually like expand that by going up and looking at it. So it's kind of this extra like hidden layer
I
that
love that.
that again is like exposed. So let me play this real quick. And like I said, I can never tell if like audio is coming, but I think it is. So. Oops. That's the next
So
one.
I'm pretty excited about a new project I've been working on this weekend. Something actually I'm resurrecting from about 5 years ago, but taking 3 old sepia tone prints in my basement and then used DALL-E 2 to outpaint them and then added it back as augmented reality. So basically you get the original photo, but then we kind of take a step beyond the frame and look at what might have been just outside of the camera's view. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Yeah, that's
So-
really neat.
Simple, but kind of one of those things where you're like, all right, and it is maybe like more of a general comment towards like any of the tools you're using. It's like, all right, what does it do? And
Yeah.
how can I apply that to something that's interesting or that maybe it wasn't, intended. So
Not meant
this was
for.
kind of fun and yeah, not meant for, not supposed to be doing that. But it was just really good. It was impressive like how kind of even good it was then of just like seamlessly matching up, and even just the thought of like, all right, it's contextually knowing what like is on that border. So that was pretty fun. And then you can expand that to whatever you want. I think it's fun to use old things with
Yeah.
like the newer tech. So here's kind of another example of that. So it's subtle and it might be hard to see. I got it right here. Nice. So this is no, it's not going to work. So this is just like a color film
Yeah.
slide.
Yeah.
And film slides are so ironic because like, if you have a little slide projector, like you need a very dark room, even
Yeah.
with a good throw, like you're making like half the size of like your living room TV. It's kind of like functionally they had a time and place, but like again, I think
Yeah.
they're great. And so this was like same concept, or like this was in animation of the image that's on here and then played back through AR. So it's just kind of like
Okay.
you could imagine you could have 50 of these, or I've got I've got pages of sleeves of them that could go
Yeah,
to
we
each
do
one and
too.
like create different stories. So like as like an archival thing, it's kind of interesting. Or like, I mean, clearly we're creating fake context around it, but
Yeah.
again, it's just another way of like you don't expect it. It's hiding secrets in here.
Yeah.
That's what it's what tell me all your secrets. So that for that one, for that flow, again too, we're using the film slide. And so basically I'll put them on like a backlight, kind of those light trays,
Yep.
take a photo of it so I can kind of get this in a digital photo, and
Yep.
then take that as a starting frame, animate it out, use that video to basically play back on top of it. And I think I was using Artivive as another AR mobile platform that's like generally like fairly free to use, and is a pretty simple way to get started, especially if you're just using like here's my image and here's the video that's going to go on it. They also have some green screening you can do that's pretty slick in there as well. So kind of just I should do this with a bunch more, like make an updated version. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. But
Yeah.
and then I think here's kind of more of that project you're talking about. So
Yeah.
so kind of on that like long-term project, or like where AI has been, I have a very long-term project that does not have an end in sight quite yet, where my brother was working on digitizing some 8mm film, like home family film, which, like, you know, if you go to archive.org, or I'm sure you all have some through donations or like other found footage kind of
Yeah.
ways. But this is really cool because it's just like somebody's home footage that's not on the internet. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
we have it and it's digitized. And so the long-term plan has been like creating kind of an audio visual experience, like two sections of this film. Some's in black and white, some it's all very like small town, like 1960s. It's just like from an
Primo.
aesthetic standpoint
Yeah.
and like real life, right? It's like really nice.
Yeah.
And so kind of the last 7 years I've had this footage, it's been, you know, testing all sorts of different AI workflows on it.
Yeah.
So I have like this large collection. Now it's going to be eventually putting it back into this, like, whatever, 45, doing like an hour, maybe long format experience. That I love, like the concept of basically like implanting fake memories, right? So like we're
Yeah.
taking, hey, remember when you were a kid in this park? And then I've expanded it now, or like here's another, when we're talking about that out painting. So
Yeah.
here's one frame from that film. Here's another frame, and then you bridge them
Connected it.
together, which
Yeah.
I think is just like sick, right? That's like those disparate ideas. Kind of same with this one, right? But you can just like make shapes, or like
Yeah.
you can go different directions. And so yeah, but it's this whole thing of like, right, like when we remember things, right, we're actually either destroying it in real
Yep.
time or like getting fragments of it. So so there's a larger concept here that's just like a work in progress. I've got a couple like sections of it that I've worked with some audio or musicians, right, to kind
Yeah.
of score it out. So a couple of tent pole pieces to it, but I kind of want to create these like interstitials that then also all have here's some more of it, right, where I'm like bunch of different techniques where like
Yeah.
throughout the experience the memories degrade,
It
right?
gets
Like so
warped.
it's worse and worse and worse until like some of these final pieces I've been working with are just like noise, right? So
Yeah. Like, remember
you
when you
know,
were little
big
and
things
you're
coming.
psychedelic and turned into a mushroom. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and there's this thing where like I'd love to shoot with like yeah, with Andrew Schumacher, maybe, or like do some work together where we're actually doing
Yeah.
some like live action of like, all right, we're like literally implanting the android with like uploads, right?
Yeah.
Very, very like Matrix meets like Her meets like, you know, I don't know. It's a whole kind of thing. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun because you just have like a good fodder of like film and like good quality stuff. And like I've already like
Yeah.
kind of like cut it and dissected. And now it's just like whenever
What
I
can
want
you
to
do
test
with it?
something, I just have the well to go to, and then it goes back into the folder for like eventual put back together. But yeah, just super abstractions, and just it's a lot of like, you know, stuff over the last like 5 years where like, oh, you could take an image and it'll like give it this depth, or like this is another like style transfer with the kind
Yeah.
of a Google Deep Dream on it. You know,
Yeah.
there's ways you can morph photos together. So like it's basically just it's the testing playground that'll eventually be reorganized. But
Love
it's
it.
been pretty fun. Yeah, I think that'll be cool eventually, maybe.
Yeah. I think it's cool how it is. It'll be awesome when there's like an hour of it.
Yeah, no, because it's fun to kind of create these little like audiovisual projects, or like, I mean,
Yeah.
like kind of again with doing visuals or making stuff. It's like I want to make the visuals. I don't make the music, but I know a
Yeah.
lot of people who do, and so you can
Yeah.
kind of combine those. But I think putting stuff together in a more like formalized way, rather than like it's on the YouTube or it's on the Instagram, could be fun, more of like a screening type thing. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of like just, you know, yeah, some projects and just explorations around like using old media with new techniques. That I think is pretty cool. And then kind of wanted to just like quickly share, and we can kind of run through. I know we got a little bit of time here, but just some other stuff that's been curious. As I didn't take the audio off some of these, and now they're screaming at me. But I think I can kind of talk through these, and we can show them real quick. But What's been really nice, or this one probably doesn't have audio. What's been really cool is that you can pull like depth data from video now through AI. So there's tools, especially on Runway, which I listed here, runway.ai.
Yeah.
Maybe like a larger comment on a lot of these things is that like, I think we've been kind of seeing new players enter the game, but it's a lot of like, I talk this, but I don't do this, is that I think a lot of platforms are either using APIs or integrating with other platforms where like
Yes.
eventually you can kind of just go to one spot and use everything, or like
Yeah.
again pay one subscription or use one set of credits, which I think is great. Like what's the universal credit system of like, all right, cool, I can use this there and the other place, but then it's also like in their own in their best interest to come up with new things for themselves that then like
Yep.
they kind of
Keep
own, or they're
you on the
secretly
platform.
yeah. So you can do this a number of places, but I list Runway because it's the one that I use. And so it's been really cool to like take footage, run it through, get kind of this like, it's like an approximated like depth, right? Because it's not really actually using depth information. But I just like love this aesthetic. It's very like dream confusing. Like it's like
Yeah.
very simplified, especially for like VJing, and it's cool because like it creates kind of this like end plane, right? Like you can't see that far.
Right.
Because I've done some like work with like the Kinect, which is an actual like depth camera, and so
Yeah.
it's interesting when you're here, it can't see you, but as you physically move towards it, like more is revealed. So there's kind of a cool aesthetic, and you can like kick these out super quick. It's pretty interesting. So you can take real live video,
Yeah.
turn it into kind of this depth video, and then joke's on me because I put the wrong one in here, but then I can take this depth video and restyle it, or like restyle it, so I can use like clouds or something. And so I was kind of like, from the depths of dreams is actually like
Yeah.
a great EP by Census Fail if anyone's ever listened to it. But that's kind of what I was like calling this project, because it's kind of a cool workflow. And what's fun too is like you can just, right, it's, you know, a lot of people getting the kickback of like, oh, it's purely generated. It's like, well, no, I can go and take the videos or my
Right.
old
You're
videos
actually
and like
in that
put it
place.
in part of the process. And so it's kind of a nice like little piece. It's like, especially if you are someone who likes to shoot,
Yeah.
or is like really good at it, like that's like a superpower because you're already using like really good footage as an input. Especially if you played around with trying to like get really good from scratch, or like again purely generated, it's getting really good, but it's also just really nice to like, all right, I'm gonna go shoot some super like surreal stuff and then
Yeah.
use that as my pipeline. I think that's really exciting. So yeah, this is not the right one
That's
because I
not
have
the
two that
one.
look I have two that look the same. And making sure with you. Well, I'll play this one because it's kind of similar because I'm walking down the hallway. But
Nice.
similar process. So
Yeah.
I was just in a hallway at a hotel one time, and I was like, all right, this is weird. It's like very liminal. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
took the video. This one actually has some extra add-ins where I broke that video up into like 5-second sections, and then you can take an image and basically tell it to add it to that video. And so
Okay.
then you string all of those together. So you're still continually walking down the hallway,
But
you
there's
get these
different
little
clips coming in.
interstitials, and then this was turned to depth, that was turned to the restyle. So
Okay.
they just both had clouds, so I must have just put them all in where I put it over top of it. But you kind of get the concept. So I mean,
Yeah.
follow me on the interwebs because I am telling myself that I want to explore this further. That was the whole
Keep
point of the
going.
second section, of keep myself honest about it. Something else that's a really powerful tool is using like video to basically do 3D scanning. So
Yeah.
I know you've probably worked with some photogrammetry yourself. So
Yeah.
For folks who aren't as familiar, this is kind of that like, hey, remember when I used to do this the really long hard way? So people would take 200 photos on like a DSLR around a subject, you know, put them into a workflow that would then create a 3D model of like what they did, because you're using all these different perspectives. Now with your phone camera that doesn't need to have LiDAR or anything special on it, you can get get to a pretty good place just by I usually try to shoot it like 4K 60. I've done a lot of tests of like different camera settings. You might as well just give it as much information as you can, but really
Yeah.
what you can do, I'll just play this video. This is a street performer in London who ironically, his whole thing was like, I'm a statue. And and I'm like, cool, stay there. This will be a good
Yeah.
scan. And he starts moving. And I'm like, no,
No,
you're the
be a
statue guy.
statue.
Like, so there's a little bit of
Little glitch.
interference kind of on his
Yeah.
face. But right, so what I'm doing here is just walking around him. If you have like a 0.5, that can work really well too, because you're just able
Yeah.
to kind of capture more information, and then like doing passes at different heights. And so there's a bunch of tutorials as well of how to kind of get this. But what you end up with are these scan fields that you can then take a virtual camera and like fly through and create camera
Yeah.
paths, which is like, it's very simulation. Like when you're in there, you get like a little bit woozy, being like,
Yeah.
yeah, remember like that real thing I saw in real life? Not so much. But what's cool with this is like I've done this with a couple things where you can, create loops where the camera comes back to the beginning. So for like a VJ project
Yeah.
or like a good output, you're like, cool. You can isolate the object, put it on green screen, put it on black, have the full. It's actually really cool because like as you zoom out, you get these like speckles. I don't really know how
Yeah.
to call it, but it's like
Like
taking in like
artifacts
the
of-
amount of it's like the amount of like light and color information that was like reflected into the camera, which is like again a little bit
Yeah.
out there, but it's very dreamy, it's very surreal, which is cool. And then a project that I wanted to share too that I'm again really excited about too, because I think there's a very standardized workflow, is actually using those to create these like long like slow TV type
Oh, yeah.
things. So I called it the video clock, and this is actually frames from this video loop put
Yep.
into those just like digital photo displays. So it'll play a photo
Oh,
every
yeah. Yeah.
either 2 or 5 seconds. And so I had that set up that if you do 1440 of them is like I think my number, and you put them all on the stick, and then it'll actually just like play through those. So I
Go
think it's like
through.
conceptually like, all right, like time as like a point in this video,
Yeah.
and you could extrapolate this to like, right, you could do time lapses as well. Like it wouldn't actually have to be like a scan. I was like, all right, you could like literally just have like the sun going up and down, and like to tell time, you're now looking at something that's not a clock, but
Not
it's
a
like
clock.
the same thing. So I think that's super interesting, especially as like a functional piece. You're like, there is an abstract way that actually has like more information to it. So that's kind of fun, especially actually shooting the time lapse, showing that it's actually doing what I'm saying it's doing. So
Right.
yeah, so that's kind of cool. It's like another one of those funky things where, and too, if like you're a 3D artist, like
Yeah.
like in actual like professional environments, you can use those as objects in your video games, VR projects. It just is like, or it's a good starting point to then
Right.
tighten
Tweak
it up,
it.
right? But you're not making like the mesh from scratch, which is pretty wild. There's also a whole rabbit hole of just using a single still image that'll expand into a 3D object. It'll get pretty dang close on a lot of stuff. So
Have
if
you
you're into
found
that stuff,
what tool have you tried? Any of the tools that claim to
yeah,
do that?
I would say the one that I like the most is called Tripio 3D.ai, potentially.
Okay.
TRIPIO. I'll like have to confirm that, but that's a really good one and it's another one where like you can do a ton of stuff like for free on it, and like
Yeah.
get your exports. There's like other credits you can buy to do like retopo on it and some other things, but like again, just for curiosity's sake, definitely try it out, because that's even where it's like, all right, take a picture of yourself, put it in there, get a 3D model of like a bust, and then I've 3D
Yeah.
printed myself and turned myself into a game board piece.
Yeah.
So like, all right, which one are you? I'm me, right? I'm not
Me in the
yellow.
game.
I'm not.
I'm Brian.
I'm not the boot from Monopoly. It's like,
Right.
all right, that one. So there's like again, once you unlock those flows, or like you're already smart in a lot of
Yeah.
places, like this can just be another like entry point to whatever flows that you're doing, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah.
I'll show a little clip of this one
Masks.
quick. Yeah, it's another one too where this might be like lower res, but it's kind of the thought of like, all right, taking 360 video
Yeah.
and then restylizing it, because like, right, especially if you're in headset, like that's pretty
Yeah.
trippy, which is exciting. So this is just like me in a mask on the floor. There was a mask themed art show I made this for, and then yeah, the same thing. You're kind of like running it through a restyle, or you're like, all right, what I want to give it some inspiration of like what I want this to feel like. It was very like Dali surreal was like it's kind of always a nice go-to.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Dali, because
Right.
your
Thank
stuff
you
is
for
cool. Like
all of your coolness.
and then another piece too is that I want to mention. I didn't write it on here. I have it on my resources page, but like Topaz for upscaling does a pretty good job, because a lot of times you're either kicking something out that's just like, again, not what's a usable resolution
Yeah.
for like what you want to do with things. So Topaz has done a pretty good job of at least like making it a little bit nicer versus, again, when we're getting close, but kicking stuff out at 1080 by 1080 like
Yeah.
a couple of years ago is not helpful anymore. So
Right.
let's see if this plays here. I should have muted because so it's cool. Like when you upload it to YouTube, right? You can still click and drag, and so like this is the rest of the room that I'm in right now, and I'm just messing around, sitting across from this camera and like messing with it, like because the camera is where like the viewer's head is, right? So I can like
Yep.
be this like shamanistic weirdo. This
We're getting
morphing.
ready to go on a journey.
Yeah. And this is old. This is one of those things where it's like you got to revisit stuff now, because if I redid this now, it would look a lot better. But like, what does better mean?
What is,
I mean, this one's like
is it?
pretty.
That
This
was
is pretty
pretty
like
cool.
rough for experimental sake. But and then one thing too. Let me see if it'll show behind. So what I did here, again, for anybody who like works with 360 cams, when you run it through AI or try to restyle it, it'll take the edges of your frame, which generally wrap like
Yeah.
into a sphere. It'll take those and it'll do
Wrap
something
them
different
out.
to both of them, creating a big seam down the back, which again, if you can hide it or avoid it, that's fine. But when you fully wrap it, like it's a very noticeable thing. So I think I just like put a little vignette basically around this. So like it's like, oh, just like don't look back there.
That's the dream space that you can't go
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, like I wouldn't go back through there if I were
Yeah,
you.
don't
Like,
go behind that curtain.
trust me, listen to this guy. He knows what's up.
So this
Cool. And I think this is like the last one I wanted to show, and then we can
Yeah.
maybe talk about kind of whatever you want. Kind of the last thing is like coming full circle. So like, right, all the light RIL type stuff, or interactive or installation type things, like how am I finding cool ways to kind of bridge those two pieces?
Yeah.
This is a project that I have not shared with anyone yet, because it's still kind of work in progress, but I think it's like very exciting, and I think it hopefully will like, again, show this, like you can use AI as a tool that isn't pulling from like any other information to be like your own styles and your own built aesthetics. So maybe I'll just play this one back because I kind of talked through it in the video.
Okay.
But it's basically training a model and then using a real time to create outputs based on kind of my style of photography already. So let me play this back real quick.
This is my plan for generative Lumia. So for the past couple of years, I've really enjoyed creating abstract light formations like the one seen on the right here. And what I've done now with the power of AI is I've created my own trained model solely based on my own photography of abstract light Lumia reflections. What I'd love to do is, using this real-time generator from Kriya, is that folks can basically paint in my style of Lumia in real time or near real time. So as they add more colors and more patterns, the output will update based on their drawings. And of course, this can be projected out, run through Resolumen, mapped onto a building, or what have you. So as you'll see, if you start with a blank palette, you can start to add in some colors. There you go. And it could even be communal, right? You could have somebody come up, add kind of their own shape and swirl to it and color, and that way it's kind of adding over time. But man, I'm just extremely happy with kind of how this turned out, because if I shared this as an image, you couldn't tell that it was anything different than what I would have shot in real life. And I know AI is a bit of a touchy subject, but the fact that I can train the model completely on my own photography and work and not based on any other models is pretty awesome. So yeah, it's kind of just one brand new piece that I'm really excited about, and especially on my
Cool. So I'll kind of pause it there, but that was
That is really cool.
yeah, submitted for a couple like kind of light and projection festivals. Like you can imagine, I mean, I think that's kind of the next step, or find somebody who's smarter than me to be like, all right, how do I create some type of like tablet type drawing interface that again
Yeah.
is doing this conversion. So, and just for people or you've seen a lot of my style like this. This is well, this is AI, but the images
Yeah.
that I showed kind of throughout the video are all just like reflected light beams. So it's either from a projector, you can use a flashlight, you can use dichroic films, kind of whatever, and you get these cool bent light. It's like reflections off of a mirror, but you get these abstract forms, and they've been exploring that for a while now. So it's almost like, well, why not just do that
Make
in real
your
life?
own
Well,
AI.
yeah,
But
it's like, well, usually the scale of physical in the physical world is like very small. Like I'm shooting down onto like a 2 foot by 2 foot, maybe nice piece of like white paper, and I'm projecting it from the side. And so it's just like it gets a nice final image, but it's not at scale. And so I think that
this
something
lets
like this
you
where it could be
expand it.
projected out, it could be, I mean, you can use a camera source, whatever, in real life too, but there's some nice ways around this where you're able to just get more interaction, people again, like kind of that people getting involved in it. Or
I love that idea, like the
I think I
communal
get,
drawing.
yeah, I think I can actually even like share out this trained model on Kriya, so like people can
Okay.
go and just like use this model too, which could be cool too. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, that's kind of what I just wanted to pick through from like a couple projects and just interest points. Some stuff that was used. I mean, the list is longer than this, but this was the stuff that's like off the top of my head. And if I open my Chrome tab, this is like what's
They're
always
probably
up,
open.
up and ready, which is like your Chrome tab's using 18 gigs of memory. And I'm like, all right, thanks.
Yeah.
So Luma or Luma.ai, they've also done image and video stuff, but that's where I'm mostly uploading my video scans. It can take an hour or two, or like you can do a bunch and leave them overnight,
Okay.
and then you can come back and look at those. That at least I got in when it was still free, kind of like a lot of these companies like come make a bunch, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're like you need a subscription to get back to your stuff. So knock on wood that'll stay that way. Some other really funky stuff that I didn't share here yet, but I think I've been trying to make some videos on is like creating these scans out of like a moving vehicle. So like you
Yeah.
get these like when it makes the model, it looks like it's all standing still, but then like as you change perspective, it all gets like really warped and stuff. And like
Yeah.
these like layers are just like fake because it doesn't have the information from behind them. So like that's funky. Again, break it, do the wrong thing with
Yeah.
it. There's been some really fun stuff that this guy's been uploading on Instagram where he'll take the video with like a TikTok filter on
Okay.
it, so that the model itself is actually it already has like a stylization to it because that's the information that you're given it.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. Man, I should probably try restyling a video and then uploading it again, break it, send it
Yeah.
the wrong things and like confuse it, right? When they come to take us over, it'll be like, weren't you the one that
What?
just pulled that prank on me? I'm like, no, that was
No, that was
my
that was
cat,
her.
different guy. Yeah. And here's kind of like a quick list of more of like the multimodal kind of playgrounds now, just that they're all able to do a little bit of everything. Kyber is really cool.
Yeah, I haven't tried Higgsfield.
Yeah, it's kind of a newer one, but they are unleashing the hounds as far as like a lot of, and they're getting smart. A lot of groups are like, again, think of it like a TikTok type filter or like a template,
Yeah.
right? They're like, here's what this does. Here's the exact style it's trained on. They do a lot of very like they started with here's a lot of camera movements. Like, all right, we're gonna pan, we're gonna zoom out. So again, if you wanted to like take a frame from actual footage and then do something to it that you like didn't shoot, like there was some
Yeah.
kind of more camera strategies, but now they're just like making weird stuff, which is kind of great. Like
I love that.
there are these ones I was playing with and actually did a big projection of at an event a couple months ago where like you could take a person and then like the only thing the model that it was trained on would like have them press their face up against like a piece of glass. And so when I projected that against a wall, it looked like they were like inside of
Yeah.
it, right? Trying to come out. So like,
Oh, that's
again, very,
cool.
very focused, which I think is where a lot of this stuff is going. It's like I have one task
Yeah.
and like here's what this one does, and you can combine them. You can do like, all right, I
Yeah.
want that one, and then the person
Mash
melts
it
into
up.
liquid or flowers come out of them, like really cool stuff. So yeah, check them out for sure. I would say yeah, Kyber's cool because they've at first I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but they've kind of opened up what they call Super Studio, which is
Yeah.
basically like an infinite canvas where you can like throw in a bunch of stuff and it's all like nodes. So you're like, all right, I'm gonna take
Okay.
this and put it into this block that's like either a resale. So here's my image, here's my video, here's some text, and then it's going to kick an output. They've got, you can add audio to video there. So like, all right, it's going to make something up. It doesn't do a
Yeah.
great job, but again, I also feed it really weird stuff and let's see what we come up with.
See what happens.
But that kind of comes into like this string of consciousness. Actually, I think I had like way back earlier, I had like a screen grab of like what that looks like, because you just kind of like, and I'm gonna make some stuff over here. And it's another cool one where you can kind of like revisit or like, all right, how did I get to here? And you can kind of
Yeah,
actually visually backtrack
trace
it
back.
rather than just like, all right, where was I doing that in? And then Topaz is not free, but if you're doing this stuff at scale or for like any kind of functional output, it's kind of a good to have for sure. So there's me. I found this one and it was sick. I've got these little eyeballs like up in my hair. So yeah, again, we'll have to like do some Freudian thinking about that. But
Yeah.
cool. Well, I'll stop the share. That's kind of like, again, just some throwing it at, but hopefully if anybody's watching this who is either has some thoughts and this was helpful, or you want to reach out to me directly.
Yeah, where can people reach you? What platforms are you hanging out on these days?
Yeah, oh, I didn't change my name. Well, so I go by Second Sight Visuals is my handle for. I'm mainly mostly active on Instagram. I need to do more of the TikToks. That's where the kids are at, or at
Yeah.
least like
For
funnel
now.
everything back into the yes. My comrades in TikTok will be happy. But yeah, no, I try to get some stuff out there, but trying to get back into doing more IRL events and
Yeah.
putting some stuff back together. But stuff comes and goes, and experiments are endless. So
What do you see as like like the next kind of big thing in the multimodal space? Like what do you think is kind of just on the horizon that's gonna hit?
yeah. It's been fun. I've gotten to get on a couple of calls with like people at Kyber as they're building out Super Studio. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want? And a lot of times it's like simple functionality would actually go a really long ways. Like,
Yeah.
like I have these 4 videos, like let me output them all strung together, because otherwise I have to download them all, bring them
Right.
into Resolve, and
Some
like
kind of editor.
it's just another step that's like that would be so helpful. And then also trying to like, and here's the thing too, is like other people are probably doing this and I'm just like haven't found it yet, right? Or haven't, whatever in my world that I've things I'm using, but like being able to like batch stuff at scale, I think would be really helpful, where it's just like, and just automation, right? Where it's like, and that's where it's this whole like the promise of like agentic AI and all this stuff, where it's like, yeah, what did I call it? I have this whatever lists, ideas, conversations that's just like when I go to bed, that's when like you work. So I'm gonna set you up with like, here's all the stuff I want you to do
By
while I'm
the time
asleep.
I wake up.
So that when I wake up, I just have a folder of like usable things. So that's usually that'll be
Yes.
upscale, that'll be edited, that'll be or combined, whatever I like
Yep.
need of that thing. Because that's just like there's like the two halves to like working on the stuff late at night. There is the creative, anything is possible, no rules. And then there's the like production, like I need to like make
It needs to
something out
get
of
done.
this.
Yeah.
And that's like not as fun of the part, but they like clearly they go together. Like this one's the 2 a.m. This one's like the Sunday at 10 a.m. Like I gotta
Right.
get up in the morning and work on this. So yeah, so I mean that it's like those super functional things and those workflows. And that's where like kind of what I was talking about, how different companies like, oh, here's VO3, here's Nana Banana, whatever's going to be the newest thing that's going to come out tomorrow or while we're talking about this.
10 minutes ago
like,
while we were chatting.
Yeah, and that's where like on Kyber they're integrating a lot of those. So like they've even moved away from like their built models to just being like, hey, here's a place where you can use a lot of people's stuff. And with the
Cool.
node base, like again, you can start to string stuff together. You can string it into an upscaler at the end, but how do we bridge all that together? It's creating like this one final workflow
Yeah.
where it's just like, here's a folder, let's make it happen. And then even the other stuff too that's like been super helpful that I just like need to spend more time with on Runway is like, all right, we live in a vertical video world, super annoying. Stage visuals, YouTube projection is a lot of 16:9, not 9:16. So
Yeah.
so the tools where you can take vertical and expand, or you can
Transfer.
also take 16:9 and then expand that to 9:16. I've got a couple again quick in the downloads folder that like have worked well, but
Yeah.
it's just like, all right, I gotta, like, the thing is I gotta do that 20 individual times in a row, and that's just
Right.
that production part.
How do you how can you batch that?
Yeah, and again, there's probably very smarter workarounds that can do all that, and like custom
we'll
scripting
put the
and
call
using
out.
more of like the local, like using local on your own computer.
Yeah.
Like I know the comfy UI was talked about in some of the previous conversations. It's on my to-do list to scratch that surface.
There's too much, and this is why we need to talk to each other and like tell each other, what are you doing, and what, oh, you found this tool cool. Like sharing information is awesome.
Yeah, probably the nicest things that's come up in like the last like 6 months is Midjourney's done it well, because so they were like, oh, we have video now, so like you can go back to Midjourney images you made 5 years ago and then animate them with some pretty good controls, and then they can loop, which again for like VJ screen visuals is like massive. I'm not trying to hide a loop, or I'm not trying to create a cut somewhere. So that's been really cool. And then let's see who else I have on there, like Pika, and a lot of them it's like, all right, like start frame, end frame, and then the end frame is actually the start frame. So again, creating these loops. I mean, and that stuff can work well on social too, where it's like how are we like moving through this place and then back to the beginning again. Something I didn't share that's also on the list of like super exciting stuff that I've put out a little bit ago, just need to revisit, is actually using those Luma 3D scans, creating a camera path, ending it on a frame, and then bridging that to another scan. So you're actually like,
so that becomes like your
like a spatial portal
through.
So I've got some that I was working on that's like, I was at like the Grand Canyon, but also at Tortuga, and it's like, all right, I'm walking through this thing, and then
all of a sudden you're changing
those frames, and now you're out to but you're also like, you're in like a real place, but it's also like the dream place. And you can get as funky or lack of funky as you want with those, but like that's pretty cool. I think that's like, it's like, ow, it hurts to think about, which is good. That's a good sign.
That's a good sign. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I see little bits and pieces for what the algorithm feeds me of your stuff, but I haven't seen all of that. So that was very cool. I will, we'll make sure that you have your Second Sight Visuals tag so people can find you on Instagram. And just thank you for being awesome and testing all this stuff and pushing the limits of what the AI models are doing.
Crash test mummy for sure.
Yes.
Actually, that's really funny. Like also AI is great for play on words. So I'm gonna go into Midjourney and make some crash test mummies right now. I think that's hilarious. That's the stuff where if you get a funny, that's really the thing, is like, you get a funny idea or a funny concept, like let's see what that looks like.
You can go right to it.
And that's what's been nice about, like, even with like ChatGPT being able to like do some imagery now, is like you're working together and like, cool, like show me what that looks like. Of course you have to like kind of ask it like 7 times. It's like, are you ready to make an image?
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, I told you I want it.
Here's the 7-step plan of how we're going to make an image.
Now,
No,
do you
it's
want
it's
me
kind
to
of
create a booklet of this and send it to the printer for you? Yes, please.
I'm gonna send your mom a Christmas card while I'm at it. I'm like, all right, cool. Again, that's like, hey, if I can put you to work,
Hey,
you can
like,
help do that. No,
she would like it too, I bet.
no, that's it's funny stuff, and it's exciting. It's a little scary, not quite yet, but a little
I'm
exciting.
not scared yet. I
Don't
don't know. I
don't watch
probably
YouTube videos about 2027
No.
or listen to anybody about where we're going. But for now, let's enjoy the moment and the aesthetics.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm whatever is coming is coming. So let's just have fun in the meantime.